There was a calling whispered in the silence of your deepest night, a voice that spoke your name when no one else remembered it, a summons carved into your spirit before you even understood what it meant. And here is what troubles most hearts. The calling arrived, but the noise of this world drowned it out. The distractions multiplied, the voices of others grew louder, and slowly, imperceptibly, you learned to ignore the one voice that truly mattered. This is not about religion. This is not about rituals you were taught or traditions you inherited. This is about the moment I called you by name, and you were too afraid, too busy, too broken to answer. But understand this, I never stopped calling. While you searched for meaning in empty pursuits, I was there. While you chased after approval from those who could never fill you, I waited. While you convinced yourself that you missed your chance, that the door closed, that the season passed, I remained faithful to what I spoke over your life before time began. The calling you think you missed is still echoing. The assignment you believe you failed is still available. The purpose you abandoned is still breathing, waiting for you to remember who you were created to be. You arrived at this moment because something inside you refuses to stay silent anymore. There is a restlessness in your spirit that will not be quieted by distractions, a hunger that cannot be satisfied by temporary pleasures, a knowing that you were meant for something greater than what you have settled for. And I want you to understand why this message found you today. It is not coincidence, it is not algorithm, it is divine appointment, because the calling that no one heard, the voice that was drowned out by the chaos of your circumstances, is breaking through right now with power and precision. You have felt it, have you not? That pull towards something you cannot name, that sense that you are living beneath your design, that whisper in quiet moments reminding you of dreams you buried, gifts you abandoned, and a future you stopped believing in. Let me ask you something that will expose the truth. How many times have you sensed my presence calling you forward, only to talk yourself out of it? How many divine nudges have you rationalized away? How many open doors have you walked past because you convinced yourself you were not ready, not worthy, not equipped? The enemy of your destiny is not opposition. It is hesitation. It is the voice that says tomorrow, the fear that says not yet, the doubt that says maybe I imagined it. But here is what I need you to grasp with everything in you. I do not call the qualified. I qualify the called. Every person who ever walked in purpose felt unready. Every individual who ever fulfilled their assignment battled with inadequacy. Moses argued, Gideon hid, Jonah ran, Peter denied, Paul persecuted. Yet each one answered when the calling broke through their resistance. This video will take you through a journey of recognition, awakening, and response. You will discover why the calling felt distant. You will understand what blocked your ability to hear clearly. You will learn how to distinguish my voice from every other sound competing for your attention. And most importantly, you will be equipped to answer with confidence, even if you feel decades behind, even if you believe you disqualified yourself, even if everyone around you thinks you are chasing fantasies. By the end of this message, you will know with certainty that the calling you thought you missed is actually intensifying. The assignment you believed expired is being renewed, and the voice you struggled to hear is about to become the clearest sound in your existence. Before we go further, I want you to do something that seals this moment as sacred. Subscribe to this channel right now, not as a casual viewer, but as someone who recognizes that this is where you will hear my voice with consistency and clarity. And in the comments, I want you to declare, Lord, I am here. I subscribed because I love you and I want to hear you. Also, tell me where you are watching from, your country and city, so I can see how far this word is traveling, how many hearts are being awakened across the earth. Now stay with me until the very end of this message, because I am going to whisper a specific word directly into your spirit. And when you write it in the comments, blessings that have been held back will be released. Doors that have been locked will swing open. Provision that has been delayed will begin to flow. This is not manipulation. This is spiritual principle. What you declare with your mouth, you activate in the realm of the spirit. So remain anchored here, because the breakthrough you have been praying for is hidden in the words that are coming. The silence that spoke louder than words. There is a kind of silence that most people misunderstand. They believe silence means absence. They interpret quietness as abandonment. They assume that when they do not hear thunder or see fire, I must not be speaking. But some of my most powerful communication happens in stillness. The calling that no one heard was not shouted from mountaintops. It was not announced with fanfare. It was delivered in the sacred space of solitude, in the moments when your heart was tender enough to receive it. The problem was never that I stopped speaking. The problem was that you stopped listening. Your life became so loud, so cluttered, so filled with voices that do not matter, that my whisper could not penetrate. Think about Elijah, standing on the mountain expecting me to show up in the wind, the earthquake, the fire, but I came in the still small voice. Why? Because the calling that transforms your life is not always dramatic. It is often subtle. It requires you to quiet everything else. It demands that you create space. Most people miss their calling not because it never came, but because they were too distracted to notice it. They were chasing trends instead of seeking my face. They were listening to critics instead of discerning my direction. They were paralyzed by fear instead of moving in faith. I want you to think back to a moment when you felt something stir inside you. A dream that felt too big. A vision that seemed impossible. A desire that did not make logical sense but resonated deeply in your spirit. That was me. That was the calling breaking through. But what did you do with it? Did you nurture it? Did you explore it? Did you take even one small step toward it? Or did you dismiss it as wishful thinking, bury it under responsibilities, drown it in doubt? The calling is still there. It did not evaporate because you ignored it. It has been waiting, patiently, for you to return to that moment of clarity. Here is what I need you to understand. The calling I placed on your life is not contingent on your readiness. It is not dependent on your perfection. It is not waiting for you to have all the answers. The calling exists because I spoke it into being before you took your first breath. And everything that has happened in your life, every detour, every failure, every painful season, has been shaping you for the moment when you finally say yes. The silence you experienced was not punishment. It was preparation. I was teaching you to hunger for my voice above all others. I was training your spiritual ears to recognize the frequency of heaven. I was stripping away dependencies so that when the calling becomes clear again, you will not look to people for validation. You will not need applause to move forward. You will not require external proof to obey. So let me ask you directly, are you ready to stop running from what you know I placed inside you? Are you willing to confront the excuses that have kept you in hiding? Are you prepared to step into the uncomfortable, uncertain, miraculous space where true purpose lives? Because the calling that no one heard is about to become undeniable. And when it does, your response will determine whether you live in regret or walk in remarkable authority and abundance beyond anything you imagined possible. If this word is piercing through your resistance right now, press the like button. Let that simple action be your agreement with what is being spoken over your life. And share this message with someone who has been running from their calling, someone who needs to hear that it is not too late, that the door is still open, that I am still waiting with infinite patience and relentless love. The distractions that stole your attention. Let me reveal something that will make you uncomfortable. Most of what fills your days has nothing to do with your destiny. The majority of your time, energy, and focus is being consumed by things that will not matter in eternity. You have allowed urgency to replace importance. You have permitted other people's emergencies to become your priorities. You have confused motion with progress, busyness with purpose. And in the process, the calling that could have changed everything became background noise. This is not condemnation, this is clarification. Because until you recognize what has been stealing your attention, you cannot reclaim it. The distractions are not always evil. Sometimes they are good things that have become God things in your life. A career that was supposed to be a provision became your identity. A relationship that was meant to be a blessing became your source. A ministry that started as obedience became a performance for approval. And slowly, without realizing it, you stopped checking in with me. You stopped asking for my direction. You assumed that because you were busy doing Christian things, you must be in alignment with your calling. But activity is not the same as assignment. You can be doing many things for me without doing the one thing I actually called you to do. Social media has become one of the greatest thieves of divine focus. You scroll endlessly through other people's highlight reels, comparing your beginning to their middle, measuring your worth by likes and comments. You consume content that entertains but does not edify. You waste hours watching others live their purpose while yours withers from neglect. And the algorithm is designed to keep you trapped, to keep you distracted, to keep you from ever sitting in silence long enough to hear my voice clearly. Entertainment is not rest. Distraction is not peace. Numbing is not healing. And the more you fill your mind with empty content, the less room there is for divine revelation. Then there are the voices. Oh, the voices. Family members who mean well but do not understand your calling. Friends who project their limitations onto your potential. Colleagues who measure success by worldly standards. Even religious voices that put you in a box, that tell you to stay small, stay safe, stay where you are comfortable. These voices are not necessarily malicious, but they are not anointed to speak into your destiny. And every time you prioritize their opinions over my instruction, you delay the manifestation of what I promised you. You were not created to live by committee. You were not designed to make decisions based on consensus. You were fashioned to hear my voice and move with boldness, even when no one else understands. Fear is perhaps the subtlest distraction of all. It masquerades as wisdom. It calls itself prudence. It convinces you that waiting is the same as trusting. But fear-based waiting is just disobedience with a spiritual label. When I give you a clear instruction and you hesitate because of what might go wrong, you are not being responsible. You are being rebellious. When I show you the next step and you demand to see the entire staircase before you move, you are not being wise. You are being controlling. The calling requires risk. It demands that you step into uncertainty with nothing but my word as your guarantee. And that terrifies most people, so they stay stuck, convinced they are being cautious when they are actually being cowardly. But here is the invitation I am extending to you right now. What if you cleared the clutter? What if you turned off the noise? What if you stopped attending to everyone else's agenda and asked me what I am saying about yours? What if you took an honest inventory of where your time goes and realized how little of it is invested in your true assignment? The calling that no one heard is still resonating, but you have to create space to hear it. You have to protect your attention like it is the most valuable resource you have, because it is. Where your attention goes, your life follows. And right now I am asking you to give me your undivided focus, not just for this video, but as a lifestyle, as a discipline, as an act of worship. Comment below and answer this. What is one distraction you are committing to eliminate so you can hear my voice more clearly? Write it out. Make it public. Let your declaration become your accountability. The moment everything changed, but you didn't notice. There was a moment when everything shifted in the spiritual realm, but you were so focused on the natural that you missed it entirely. A door opened that you did not walk through. An opportunity presented itself that you did not recognize. A connection was made available that you did not pursue, and because you were operating by sight instead of by faith, by logic instead of by leading, you let it pass. This is one of the most painful realities of the kingdom. Blessings can be present without being received. Provision can be released without being accessed. Favor can be extended without being activated. And the reason is simple. You were not paying attention to what I was doing. You were too busy looking at what was not happening. Let me take you into the story of the Israelites at Kadesh Barnea. I brought them to the edge of the promised land. Everything I spoke to Abraham, everything I vowed to Moses, everything they had been traveling toward was right there, ready to be possessed. The land was flowing with milk and honey. The cities were built. The vineyards were planted. All they had to do was go in and take what I had already given them. But they sent spies, and 10 of the 12 came back with a report based on fear instead of faith. They saw giants. They saw obstacles. They saw impossibility. And their unbelief cost them 40 years. An entire generation died in the wilderness, not because I changed my mind, not because the promise was revoked, but because they did not recognize the moment. They did not discern the season. They did not perceive that I had already gone before them to prepare the way. You have had Kadesh Barnea moments, times when I positioned you right at the threshold of breakthrough, but you hesitated. You overanalyzed. You consulted with people who were not qualified to speak into that moment. And while you were deliberating, the window closed. Not permanently, but for that particular season. And you spent years wondering why things felt stuck, why nothing seemed to move forward, why you could not shake the sense that you missed something. You did. But not because I hid it from you. You missed it because you were not spiritually alert. You were not living with expectation. You were not watching for my hand to move. Here is what most people do not realize. I am always working, even when you do not see it, even when it does not make sense, even when circumstances look the opposite of what I promised. I am orchestrating, aligning, shifting things in your favor. But if you are not discerning, if you are not sensitive to my spirit, you will walk right past what I arranged for you. You will dismiss the person I sent as a random encounter. You will ignore the idea I dropped into your spirit as just a passing thought. You will overlook the opportunity I opened because it did not look the way you expected it to look. And then you will wonder why others seem to be walking in blessing while you are still struggling. The calling that no one heard included divine appointments that you did not keep. It involved assignments that you did not accept. It required obedience in small things that you deemed insignificant. But nothing I ask you to do is insignificant. Every act of obedience is a seed. Every step of faith is an investment. Every time you align with my instruction, even when it does not make sense, you are positioning yourself for multiplication, for increase, for the kind of abundance that cannot be explained by human effort alone. This is why I tell you to trust me with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, because your logic will limit you, your reasoning will restrict you. Your need to have it all figured out will keep you from the miraculous. So here is the question you must answer with brutal honesty. Are you willing to move when I say move, even if you do not understand why? Are you willing to obey when I speak, even if it disrupts your plans? Are you willing to recognize the moment, seize the opportunity, and walk through the door, even if everyone around you thinks you are crazy? Because the next time I open something for you, it will not wait indefinitely. It will not accommodate your fear. It will not pause while you gather opinions. It will require immediate, decisive, courageous action. And if you miss it again, you will have no one to blame but yourself. If you know you have missed moments because you were not paying attention, type in the comments, "I am awake now." Let that be your declaration that from this point forward, you will live with spiritual alertness, with expectation, with readiness to move when I say move. Why the calling felt too big for you. One of the most effective lies the enemy whispers is that the calling on your life is too big for you, that you do not have what it takes, that you are not smart enough, strong enough, connected enough, resourced enough. And the proof, he says, is in your past. Look at your failures, look at your mistakes, look at all the ways you have fallen short. Surely, he suggests, someone with your history cannot be trusted with something significant. But let me tell you what he is really afraid of. He knows that once you step into your calling, you will become unstoppable. He knows that your obedience will trigger breakthrough, not just for you, but for everyone connected to you. He knows that the assignment I placed on your life has the potential to shift atmospheres, change nations, and advance my kingdom in ways that terrify the forces of darkness. So he does everything he can to keep you in self-doubt. He magnifies your weaknesses. He replays your failures on a loop. He compares you to people who seem more capable, more anointed, more successful. And slowly, you start to believe the narrative. You start to think that maybe the calling was a mistake. Maybe you misheard. Maybe it was meant for someone else, but here is the truth that will shatter that lie. I do not make mistakes. When I place a calling on your life, it is not random. It is not arbitrary. It is strategic. It is intentional. And it is backed by all of heaven. You are not supposed to fulfill it in your own strength. You are not meant to rely on your own abilities. You are designed to be a vessel, a conduit, a container for my power. And the moment you stop trying to do it yourself and start surrendering to my leading, everything changes. Look at David. When Samuel came to anoint the next king, everyone assumed it would be one of Jesse's older sons. They looked the part. They had the stature. They had the experience. But I rejected every single one of them. And when they finally brought in David, the youngest, the overlooked, the one who smelled like sheep, I said, "This is the one." Not because he was the most qualified, but because he had a heart that pursued me. That is what I look for, not your resume, not your reputation, not your resources. I look at your heart. And if your heart is surrendered, if your heart is willing, if your heart is hungry for my presence more than anything else, I can use you in ways that will astonish everyone, including yourself. Moses was a stutterer with a murder charge. Gideon was hiding in a wine press. Esther was an orphan. Peter was impulsive and uneducated. Paul was a terrorist. Yet each one became a history maker because they said yes to a calling that felt too big. They stepped into assignments that terrified them. They moved forward even when they did not feel ready. And I showed up. I provided, I equipped, I empowered. And I will do the same for you. The calling on your life is supposed to feel too big. It is supposed to stretch you beyond your comfort zone. It is supposed to require you to depend on me in ways you never have before. Because that is where transformation happens. That is where miracles are born. That is where you discover that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined, not because of who you are, but because of who I am in you. So stop disqualifying yourself. Stop rehearsing reasons why you cannot. Stop waiting until you feel ready, because you never will. Readiness is not a feeling. Readiness is obedience. Readiness is taking the next step even when your knees are shaking. Readiness is showing up even when you do not have all the answers. And when you do, I meet you there. I fill in the gaps. I make up the difference. I turn your inadequacy into a platform for my glory. This is not about you being enough. This is about me being more than enough, and you being willing to let me prove it through your life. In the comments, I want you to write, I release my inadequacy and receive your sufficiency. Let that become your new mindset, your new confession, your new operating system. Because the calling is not too big for you. It is perfectly sized for the God who lives inside you. The cost of ignoring what you know. There is a weight that comes with knowing. Once you have heard my voice, once you have received instruction, once you have been shown the path, you cannot unhear it. You cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to ignorance. And if you choose to ignore what you know, it does not just go away. It festers. It creates inner conflict. It produces a low-grade anxiety that never fully leaves. You wake up feeling unsettled. You go to bed feeling unfulfilled. You move through life with a nagging sense that you are off course, that you are missing something, that you are living beneath your design. And you are. Because disobedience to your calling does not lead to peace. It leads to internal chaos. Jonah is the perfect case study. I told him to go to Nineveh. He went to Tarshish instead. He thought he could run from my assignment. He thought he could escape the calling. But what happened? A storm came, not just around him, but inside him. He could not outrun what I placed on his life. And eventually, after a detour through the belly of a fish, after losing time and credibility, after causing unnecessary suffering, he ended up doing what I told him to do in the first place. The only difference was that he did it bruised, humbled, and exhausted instead of blessed, elevated, and energized. The calling will always win. The question is whether you will embrace it early or endure the painful process of being brought back to it. Every day you delay costs you something. It costs you peace. It costs you progress. It costs you the compound effect of obedience. Because obedience is not just about the single act. It is about what that act unlocks. When you obey in one area, I release blessing in multiple areas. When you step into the calling I gave you, it does not just affect you. It affects your family, your finances, your future. It creates a ripple effect that touches generations. But when you ignore what you know, you stall everything. You cap your capacity. You limit your reach. You forfeit the fullness of what I intended for your life. And the tragedy is that it is not because I withheld it. It is because you refused it. Let me be clear. Ignoring your calling is not neutral. It is not passive. It is active rebellion. You are saying, I know what you told me to do, but I am choosing something else. You are prioritizing your comfort over my command. You are trusting your judgment over my wisdom. And while I am patient, while I extend grace, while I continue to call you back, there are consequences. You will miss opportunities that will not come again. You will bypass connections that were meant to accelerate you. You will forfeit resources that were allocated for your assignment. And you will live with the haunting awareness that you could have done more, been more, impacted more, if only you had listened. But here is the hope. It is not too late. As long as you have breath, as long as you can hear my voice, as long as there is a stirring in your spirit, you can turn around. You can say yes today. You can step into what I have been holding for you. Yes, you may have lost time. Yes, you may have taken detours. Yes, you may have wounds from your wandering. But I specialize in redemption. I take what the enemy meant for harm and turn it into a testimony. I take what you wasted and multiply it back to you. I take the years the locusts ate and restore them with interest, with abundance, with overflow. So what will you choose? Will you continue ignoring the calling, hoping it will fade, convincing yourself it does not matter? Or will you finally face it, embrace it, and walk in it with boldness? The cost of ignoring is far greater than the cost of obeying, and the reward of obedience is beyond anything you can calculate in human terms. Provision, favor, influence, impact, legacy, all of it is waiting on the other side of your yes. Comment this word, obedience. Let it be your commitment, your turning point, your declaration that from this moment forward, you will no longer ignore what you know. You will align, you will act, you will advance. The voice you must learn to recognize. In a world filled with competing voices, learning to recognize mine is not optional, it is essential. Your future depends on it. Your peace depends on it. Your purpose depends on it. But most people struggle because they have never been taught how to discern my voice from all the others. They hear their own thoughts and assume it is me. They hear cultural narratives and think it is wisdom. They hear religious tradition and believe it is truth. And they end up confused, conflicted, and constantly second-guessing. So let me give you clarity. My voice will never contradict my word. It will never lead you into sin. It will never produce anxiety, confusion, or chaos. My voice brings peace, even when it challenges you. It brings clarity, even when it stretches you. It brings courage, even when it requires risk. My voice also has a consistency. When I speak to you about your calling, it will not be a one-time whisper that you barely heard. It will be a recurring theme. It will show up in different ways, through different people, through different circumstances. You will see patterns. You will notice confirmations. You will experience a knowing that goes beyond logic. This is how you distinguish between a random thought and a divine directive. A random thought fades. A divine directive lingers. It persists. It grows stronger over time. It will not let you go, no matter how hard you try to dismiss it. Another key marker of my voice is that it calls you higher. It does not flatter your flesh. It does not coddle your comfort. It does not affirm you staying where you are. My voice is always an invitation to growth, to courage, to transformation. If you hear something that tells you to stay small, play it safe, avoid risk, that is not me. That is fear masquerading as wisdom. I am the God who told Abraham to leave everything familiar, who told Moses to confront Pharaoh, who told Joshua to march around walls, who told Peter to step out of the boat. My voice always involves movement, always requires faith, always demands that you trust me more than you trust your circumstances. You must also learn to recognize my voice through my presence. When you spend time with me, not just talking at me in prayer, but sitting in silence, soaking in worship, meditating on my word, you develop sensitivity. You start to feel when I am near. You start to sense when I am speaking. You start to discern when something is from me versus when it is from your own desires or the enemy's deception. This is why intimacy with me is non-negotiable. You cannot discern a voice you do not know. You cannot follow a God you do not spend time with. The calling that no one heard was missed because people stopped cultivating relationship. They wanted direction without devotion. They wanted answers without intimacy. But I do not work that way. I speak most clearly to those who draw near. Let me also tell you this. My voice will often sound like an interruption. It will come when you are busy with other things. It will arrive when you have different plans. It will disrupt your timeline, your agenda, your carefully constructed life. And this is where most people miss it. They are so committed to their own blueprint that when I present mine, they reject it because it does not fit. But my ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. And what I have planned for you is infinitely better than what you have planned for yourself. So when my voice interrupts, do not resist it. Lean into it. explore it, ask me for clarity, and then have the courage to adjust everything else to align with what I am saying. Finally, my voice always points you toward love, toward compassion, toward justice, toward mercy. If you hear something that makes you judgmental, harsh, condemning, or self-righteous, that is not me. My voice convicts, yes. My voice corrects, yes. But it always does so with the aim of restoration, not destruction. It builds up, it encourages, it empowers. Even when it challenges you, you will feel loved. Even when it exposes you, you will feel safe. Because my voice is rooted in who I am, and I am love. If you are committing to cultivating the ability to hear my voice more clearly, write this in the comments. I will know your voice. Let that be your intention, your prayer, your pursuit, because everything in your life will improve when you learn to hear me clearly and follow me fully. What happens when you finally answer? The moment you answer the calling, everything shifts. Not necessarily in your circumstances immediately, but in your spirit instantly. There is a release that happens when you stop resisting and start surrendering. There is a peace that comes when you align with what I designed you for. There is a joy that emerges when you finally stop fighting your purpose and start flowing in it. And from that moment forward, you are no longer the same person. You step into a new identity. You operate with new authority. You walk with new confidence. Because now you are not just existing, you are fulfilling. You are not just surviving. You are thriving. You are not just wandering. You are advancing with intention, with clarity, with divine backing. When you answer the calling, I begin to connect you with the people who are meant to journey with you. You will meet individuals who see what you see, who believe what you believe, who are equipped to help you build what I showed you. And these connections will not be forced. They will be effortless. They will be divine orchestration. You will look back and see how perfectly I positioned you, how strategically I aligned relationships, how intentionally I opened doors that no man could open. This is what happens when you operate in calling versus striving in your own plans. Things flow, resources appear, opportunities multiply, and you start to experience the truth of what I promised, that I will supply all your needs according to my riches in glory. Answering the calling also activates a level of favor that cannot be explained. You will walk into rooms you were not qualified for. You will receive opportunities you did not apply for. You will be promoted in ways that bypass normal protocol. And people will wonder how it happened. But you will know. You will know that it was not your resume. It was not your network. It was not your hustle. It was my hand on your life. It was the fulfillment of what I spoke before you were born. It was the manifestation of purpose meeting obedience. And when this starts happening, do not become prideful. Do not take credit. Give me glory. Point people back to me. Let your life be a testimony that when someone aligns with their calling, I show up in undeniable ways. There will also be opposition. Understand this clearly. The moment you step into your calling, hell will take notice. The enemy will not sit back and watch you walk in purpose without trying to stop you. He will attack your mind with doubt. He will attack your relationships with division. He will attack your resources with sudden lack. But here is what you need to know. The opposition is proof that you are on the right path. If you were doing nothing that mattered, he would leave you alone. But because your obedience threatens his agenda, he fights back. So do not be discouraged by warfare. Expect it, prepare for it, and know that I have already given you everything you need to overcome it. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. The weapons formed against you will not prosper, and every attack meant to destroy you will only position you for greater promotion. Answering the calling also means accepting that not everyone will understand. Some people will celebrate you, some will criticize you, some will walk away, and you have to be okay with that. Because the calling on your life is not about pleasing people, it is about pleasing me. It is not about fitting into their expectations, it is about fulfilling my assignment. And anyone who cannot honor what I am doing in you does not deserve access to you. Protect your calling. Guard your focus. Surround yourself with people who see what I placed in you and cheer you on, not those who project their limitations and try to shrink you back down to their level of comfort. But the greatest thing that happens when you answer the calling is this: you finally experience fulfillment, not happiness which is circumstantial, but deep, abiding, unshakable fulfillment. You know you are doing what you were created to do. You know you are living in alignment with heaven. You know that your life matters, that your existence has meaning, that your days are counting for something eternal. And nothing the world offers can compare to that. No amount of money, no measure of fame, no level of success can give you what walking in purpose gives you. This is why I created you with a calling, because outside of it you will always feel incomplete. But inside of it, you will discover the fullness of life I intended for you. Write this in the comments. I am answering the call. Let this be the moment. Let this be the turning point. Let this be the day you stop hesitating and start moving, because the world is waiting for what I placed inside you, and it is time to let it out. The promise that comes with the calling. Every calling comes with a promise. When I call you to something, I also commit to sustain you through it. I do not send you out alone. I do not leave you to figure it out on your own. I go before you, I walk beside you, I work within you, and I provide everything you need along the way. This is my covenant with those who answer the call. I will never leave you nor forsake you. I will be your strength when you are weak. I will be your wisdom when you are confused. I will be your provision when resources seem scarce. I will be your protection when enemies rise. I will be your peace when storms rage. And I will be your reward when the journey is complete. But the promise requires partnership. You cannot sit back and expect me to do everything while you do nothing. I provide the vision. You take the steps. I give the instruction. You execute the obedience. I open the doors. You walk through them. This is how the kingdom operates. It is not passivity. It is active faith. It is trust demonstrated through action. And when you do your part, I do mine. When you sow in obedience, I produce the harvest. When you invest your time, talent, and treasure into what I called you to, I multiply it back to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. This is the principle of the kingdom. Give, and it will be given to you. Not just financially, but in every area. Give your obedience, receive my favor. Give your faith, receive my miracles. Give your surrender, receive my abundance. The promise also includes supernatural provision. I fed the Israelites with manna in the wilderness. I multiplied the widow's oil. I provided water from a rock. I turned 5 loaves and 2 fish into a feast for thousands, and I have not changed. I am still the God of more than enough. When you are walking in calling, resources will come from unexpected places. Money will show up that you did not work for. Opportunities will appear that you did not pursue. People will bless you simply because I put it in their hearts to do so. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is the fulfillment of the promise that when you seek first the kingdom and my righteousness, all these things will be added unto you. Another part of the promise is divine protection. The calling on your life makes you a target, yes, but it also makes you untouchable by anything I have not permitted. No weapon formed against you will prosper. No curse spoken against you will land. No scheme devised against you will succeed. Because I am your shield. I am your fortress. I am your deliverer. And I watch over my word to perform it. This does not mean you will not face trials, but it does mean that you will not be destroyed by them. Every attack will become a testimony. Every setback will become a setup. Every valley will lead to a mountaintop. Because I am committed to seeing you fulfill the calling I gave you. The promise also guarantees lasting impact. When you walk in calling, your life produces fruit that remains. You will not just make noise, you will make a difference. You will not just be busy, you will be effective. You will not just touch people temporarily, you will mark them eternally. Because what you do in obedience to me carries my anointing, and my anointing breaks yokes. My anointing destroys strongholds, my anointing transforms lives. Your words will have weight, your prayers will have power, your presence will shift atmospheres. This is what happens when you are aligned with calling. You become a conduit for heaven to invade earth. Finally, the promise includes eternal reward. Everything you do in obedience to your calling is recorded. Every sacrifice is noticed. Every act of faith is remembered. And when you stand before me, you will not just hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant," because you went to church. You will hear it because you answered the call. You stepped out. You trusted me. You laid down your life for the assignment I gave you. And the reward will be worth every moment of struggle, every season of obscurity. every time you wanted to quit but pressed through. The glory that awaits you is beyond what you can fathom. So do not grow weary in doing good. Do not lose heart when the process is long. Do not give up when the breakthrough seems delayed. The promise is sure, the reward is coming, and it will far exceed anything you sacrifice to get there. In the comments, write this declaration: I trust your promise over my process. Let that become the anchor that holds you steady when storms come, when doubt creeps in, when circumstances seem contrary. Because my promise is unshakable, and those who trust in me will never be put to shame. So here we are at the end of this message, but not the end of your journey. In fact, this is where your journey truly begins. Everything up until now has been preparation. Everything you have walked through, every pain, every disappointment, every moment when you felt forgotten, it was all shaping you for this. The calling that no one heard is no longer silent. It is roaring inside you. It is demanding a response. It is refusing to be ignored any longer. And you are faced with a decision that will define the rest of your life. Will you answer, or will you walk away? Will you step into the uncomfortable, uncertain, miraculous space where purpose lives? Or will you settle back into the familiar patterns that produce nothing of eternal value? I want you to understand something with absolute clarity. This message found you because you are on the edge of your breakthrough. You are standing at the threshold of the very thing you have been praying for, crying for, begging me to release. And I am releasing it. But the release is contingent on your response. I will not force you into your destiny. I will not drag you into your calling. I will not override your free will. But I will keep speaking. I will keep nudging. I will keep opening doors and creating opportunities. And eventually, you will either walk through them or you will watch them close. The choice has always been yours. If you have made it to this moment, if you are still here, still listening, still feeling the fire inside you, it is because you are ready. Something has shifted. Something has broken open. And whether you can articulate it or not, you know that you cannot go back to how things were. You cannot return to the mundane. You cannot accept mediocrity. You cannot keep living beneath the design I placed on your life. You were made for more. You were created for impact. You were fashioned for influence, for authority, for abundance, for a legacy that outlives you. And it all starts with one word: yes. Say yes to the calling, even though you do not have all the answers. Say yes to the assignment, even though it terrifies you. Say yes to the process, even though it will cost you something. Because on the other side of your yes is everything I promised. On the other side of your obedience is the life you were meant to live. On the other side of your surrender is the fullness of my presence, my provision, my power working in you and through you in ways that will leave you in awe. And let me remind you, this is not the last time you will hear from me. This channel, The Voice of God, is where I will continue to speak to you. This is where you will receive direction, encouragement, correction, and revelation. This is where you will be reminded of who you are and whose you are. So if you have not already, subscribe now and make it a habit to come back here, to listen, to engage, to let my voice become the loudest sound in your life. Because the world will try to drown me out. Culture will try to distract you. The enemy will try to confuse you. But if you anchor yourself here, if you commit to hearing from me consistently, you will not be shaken. You will not be moved. You will stand firm in your calling, clear in your purpose, confident in your future. I also want you to engage with what you have heard. Do not just passively consume this message and move on. Let it activate something in you. Let it provoke a response. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below and let me know where you are watching from, what this word stirred in you, what decision you are making as a result. Because your testimony matters, your voice matters, and when you declare what I am doing in your life, it gives others permission to believe that I can do it in theirs too. Now, as I close, I want to leave you with the seal of this word. It is a declaration, a commitment, a proclamation of faith. And I want you to write it in the comments as a public act of surrender, as a visible marker of this moment, as a covenant between you and me. Write these words with intention, with conviction, with the full weight of what they mean. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Let that be your banner. Let that be your battle cry. Let that be the truth you cling to when everything around you says you cannot, because you can, not in your own strength, but in mine. And my strength is limitless. The calling that no one heard is now the calling you cannot ignore. So go, step out, move forward, and watch as I do exceedingly, abundantly above all you could ask or imagine. This is your moment. Do not waste it.